give me a little bit of insight into the uniqueness of this, and then your thought process around getting out and teaching it and sharing it with other chiropractors. So let's talk about that from just even a business model, perhaps, or what it is that the message is that you're trying to or wanting to get out there.
I was just coming up with a good idea to describe it. And I call it like the Ghostbusters of chiropractic. And so the Ghostbusters has 4 Ghostbusters, and they all have that little machine that would like shoot to the ghost, and then it'd catch the ghost and put it away in that little thing. Right.
Yeah.
So there's 4 main streams in chiropractic that we can really help with. One is being very good at chiropractic adjusting, like understanding how to analyze the spine and nervous system. And because chiropractic adjustment is very similar to like playing a sport, skating, playing hockey, shooting baskets, like it's a physical sport. And again, most pro basketball players, they shoot practice all the time. So being very good at detecting verbal subluxation and being very good at adjusting, like that's the first stream, which is super important. The second stream is understanding the hierarchy, which we just talked about. Like we want to know about those 3 states. The third one is going to be about neuroception, which we just talked about. And the key thing about neuroception is that not only that's just us detecting our environment, that's us detecting other humans. And so if you are not only a chiropractor, but if you're a business owner and you have staff or you have family members, and you're giving off bad vibes, literally, like if you're dysregulated, you're actually giving off danger signals to other people around you, which will actually trigger them without you even saying anything. Okay, that's why when someone walks in a room,
and they may not even recognize it either. They're just getting a bad vibe. Is that a fair statement?
100%. They just be like, well, some people, I say, you just meet them and you just like, now I'm in a bad mood. I have no idea even why. They just walk by you. It's like their energy just got on you. But it's like the nervous system has a language that is below our awareness. And that's why we're connecting with other people. And so that's why we're really talking how important it is for chiropractors or business owners or family members or anybody in life to work on staying regulated, because you just become a nicer human and people have a better experience in your presence, period. Doesn't even matter what you're doing, but it just amplifies or it detracts anything that you're doing. So as a chiropractor, it will amplify your adjustment. Or if you're distracted and frustrated, it actually takes away from your adjustment. So it actually will maximize or minimize anything that you're doing or talking with staff.
Yeah. So this makes total sense. But if I'm okay, so got it. And that's cool. Now, if I'm a patient and I'm coming in and I got something going on for me, I'm not even sure what it is. Maybe I'm in pain. Maybe I'm just feeling discomfort. Maybe I've had some chiropractic care in the past and walked away feeling better, and now I want to go back to that. If I'm coming in and you're assessing me, or I'm doing a self-assessment that's saying I got to get in and get an adjustment, what am I feeling? What am I sensing? What is it that I'm walking in the door and saying to you, or what are you as a doctor who maybe I don't have that awareness, or looking at it and assessing, going, okay, I got to make a couple of adjustments here. You follow what I'm asking there?
Yeah. Because a lot of times they don't know, because they just come in with whatever they think that, I have a shoulder pain and that it just floats outside their body. And so what our job is actually just to kind of like just link a few things up. So we'll the first thing we always link is posture, because posture is a great global sign if you're in a chronic state of protection or growth, because it's just the end result. Are we open? And that affects all different parts of our body. The second thing is there's something really cool. It's called the social engagement system. And the social engagement system is made up of 5 cranial nerves that control facial expression, eye movement, smell, your voice, your hearing, your head movements, and then that whole vagus nerve that controls your whole autonomic nervous system. Now, the interesting thing about it is if your body is mostly in a state of protection or detecting danger, it turns down your social engagement system. So some people will call it the RBF, resting bitch face, like when some people have that non-expression on their face. And so often what we do is we just actually take, and when they come in, not only we're like doing posture evaluation, might send them for x-rays, but we're also taking pictures of their face. Because automatically when we're regulated in our nervous system, we actually become more social. Like, and you can actually see it in their eyes. Like you could actually have them picture side by side. And actually multiple people, when they're under care, their family members notice that they're more enjoyable to be around. And so they might have just, I've had lots of patients too. Once we've explained this, they go, geez, yeah, because you get bad kickback. Like if you're giving off those danger cues on your face or your energy, and you're trying to get stuff done with your business or with your family, and they get turned off because they're detecting danger. Then your response back is bad neuroception from them. And it's almost like a cascade. Like it goes downhill. And the opposite happens too. If you see someone, you go, "Hey, how's it going?" And then they're like, "I'm great. How are you?" And then you're like, "Oh, that's kind of nice. I'm doing pretty good." And then all of a sudden you start cascading up. And so it's about kind of like evolving collaboration rather than devolving, because devolving is when you're like bad social cue, more of a jerk, and it kind of goes down the hill. So I think our job as chiropractors is to be able to link that and find out what's important to them in their lives. Like there's lots of people where there's their business, they like to play sports, their moms, they're looking after their kids. They all want to be better. Like I don't know anybody who wants to be worse at whatever they love to do. But when they realize that if you're regulated, you can more have control over your emotions, you can have better connections with others. Like they're like, that's what I want.
Well, so there's lots to talk about in what you just shared. Number one, my mom turned 96 and she's in extended care, which just means she's got a condo. She goes down for breakfast or lunch, and they look after her. But she's pretty self-sustaining. The point of that is that she's the social drive that, that's where senior citizens, back to your point around, we need to be social. It's a very, very important part of what we do and how we operate. So that's something that we got to be aware of, I think, in what I heard and what you said. But having said all of that, there's another part of it, which is that sense of well-being and, going in, getting adjustments. That becomes also a maintenance thing, because that's what I'm not great at with chiropractic. We often wait for something to be wrong as opposed to being preventative and going in for an adjustment once a month or whatever it might be. So I want to say that out loud. Although I do pretty good, I'm way better than I was. And it makes such a huge freaking difference. That's the point. I'm not going in because I got something wrong with me. I'm actually going in because I want to make sure that everything stays aligned and that everything runs down your spine and that all that nervous system is happening. And then I want to touch on something that we kind of let in a little bit with, Don, which was stress. Mm-hmm. Now, I have a phrase that I use often that says it's not the weight we carry that breaks us down, it's the way we carry the weight. Mm-hmm. Now, that's to say that we can carry stress heavy and we can be bummed out about it, or we can say, okay, well, got it, I have that, but I'm not going to carry it. I'm not going to let it weigh me down. Having said that, stress will eventually break us down. And is this part of, I'll share my own kind of story. When I go to my chiro and I get my adjustments and stuff, things just seem better. Mm-hmm. My mood gets better. I feel a little bit more energetic. I feel in a better mood. And I don't carry stress really heavy anyways, but tell me a little bit about the impact of stress on all of this.
Well, that's great, because that was the fourth thing from the Ghostbuster thing, which was, it's called co-regulation. It's perfect. And that's why I said I like the analogy when they had that the big monster in Ghostbusters, and they said don't cross the streams, because when they cross the streams, like, it's super powerful. So if you cross all four of these streams, it's super powerful. Anyway, that was just my image. I always think in pictures. So, but the thing is that we need other people to help co-regulate, because even if we're stressed and we don't have regulated co-regulators in our life, like, that's the thing, is if the more co-regulators we have in our life that are regulated, that helps us to dial it back down, because there are lots of self-regulation activities we can do, like exercise, meditation, hot baths, like write stuff down, do all that kind of stuff. But nothing beats just connecting with another person that you trust, that you feel safe with. And that's one of the biggest powerful things I think about chiropractic is that a patient comes in, you as a chiropractor are their safe regulator. Like I have, and especially as a male chiropractor, that's because I've only experienced being a male one, but the power of being a safe male co-regulator, especially for females. Like, there's some females, like, I've had patients come and say, you are the only safe male in my life. That's actually what helps to just get you more regulated, because it's not like you're regulated or not regulated. It's like tuk, 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 but it's like more of a scale. So like you said, you look after yourself pretty good. So maybe you're only like 20% dysregulated when you go in, but you get that adjustment, you co-regulate. It just helps you just to get, boom, reconnected. Your social engagement system comes back up online. Like your blood pressure goes down, like it regulates your breathing, your digestion go like that. That is just, it's like a reset. And so that's why I always tell people it's super important who you hang out with, because you need to have safe co-regulators to be able, because we all need someone to lean on at some point. Like that's the thing, is stress is never going to end. And that's why I think, like you said, it's not how you get the stress, but how you carry the stress. Multiple people can have a lot of stress, but some people, like if one person has a nice, safe co-regulator, and this can be your wife too, your wife or your husband or your partner, and they can help you reset right away, then you just move on. But those people who unfortunately stayed at home, maybe even during COVID, and they're still staying at home, they become more neurotic because they have no connections. When they get stressed, they don't have any way. They have limited ways to get re-regulated, and that's why it ends up lasting longer and longer to recover.
So, when we think about what's going on in the world today, where I don't know what the actual number is, I don't know that anybody really knows, but they throw it out there where 30% of the population didn't go back to an office environment. They're working from home. That might be a bigger challenge than people are even realizing, in that if you're not in that environment, you may not have that co-regulator, the term that you use. I want to unpack that a little bit more, but that could in fact be what's causing some of the increase in depression and the increase in stress and the health issues that come along with that, because you and I both know that our physical health, our physiology and our physical health is a reflection of what's going on often mentally and how we're handling stress overall. And would that be, do you think, an accurate statement, Don?
Oh yeah. It's huge. I even say, like in my practice, for example, people who got negatively impacted from COVID, like health wise, like some of them got sick for a day or two, but like it was very little. Like even my whole practice, none went in a hospital. Out of thousands of patients, nobody went in the hospital and nobody died. But 100% of them got affected from being isolated. And I don't think actually anybody did not get affected. Even some of my like introverts that like don't like people, they're like, don't get me wrong, I loved it the first couple of weeks. But even for me, that was a little bit too much.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I've actually not heard the term co-regulator. So, or, what that even means. So, but it's something that you said, which is very interesting, which is, if I have, as a coach and as somebody who's been in this space of coaching for many years, and I have heard, people have said to me before, hanging out with you is, I just love it because I feel so much more grounded. So I hold that because, and especially women, and I'm fortunate that way. And a lot of that has to do with my wife, Stephanie, and what she's shared with me in terms of my own insights and being aware in it. But if you were to say to somebody, be a good co-regulator, like be intentional about it, be that space for people. Is it as simple as being able there to listen? It's the classic case of the husband that wants to fix everything instead of just listening. Like we joke about that, but is that an example of being a good co-regulator? Like, how would we describe that? If you're going to give somebody some guidance, if you want to be that, what would you be saying to them?
Yes, so good. Because even when we work with chiropractors, everyone's like, what do I do? What do I do? and again, this is the actually what do I be? And this is 100% what do I be? And so the interesting thing is understanding how co-regulation starts is because as humans, we cannot survive as a baby. Like we cannot survive on our own. And so babies require safe co-regulators in order to grow and mature ideally. Right. And so if someone has gone through their whole childhood and they've never really had a safe co-regulator, often they don't know what it feels like to feel regulated, which is going to make them harder. It's going to make it harder for them to be a strong co-regulator. So if we make sure that we look after our regulation and becomes super intentful about keeping ourselves regulated, then we automatically become a better co-regulator, because it spreads, right? And so that's that neuroception. If I'm dysregulated, I spread dysregulation. If I'm regulated, I spread regulation. And so for us, it's just important to be able to, like you said, to go back to the Joe Dispenza stuff, is get the feeling. Like we got to know what the feeling is. And even it's funny, after a first visit, when I ask people, like, we do use postural tension tests, I put them up against the wall, standing in perfect posture, and I have them feel different areas of their body, and they just feel tension all the way through. And after their first adjustment, some people actually even feel emotional because they're like, I've never felt that before. Like, I've never even felt whatever that, they can't even say, like you even said, I just feel different. And some of them are even emotional because it's actually overwhelming sometimes, because they've actually been dysregulated their whole life and they don't even know what it feels like to be regulated. And so that's the cool thing, is
so fascinating. So
you
fascinating.
can't give away what you don't have. And so that's why it's important for us to make sure we work on doing what we can. And then if we find other people, like how you said, people feel comfortable around you. And again, that's why I loved hanging out with you and masterminding with you too, because if you find people who you can hang out with and then you feel better afterwards, you want to hang out more with them, because that will help you be more regulated, which will help you be a better co-regulator. So it just kind of like passes it down the road, if it makes sense.